Welcome to Naked Spirituality, a video blog series of sacred attention therapy in the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. For more information about sacred attention therapy, the Center for Human Awakening, and our video blog series, please visit our website at www.centerforhumanawakening.com. And center is spelled C-E-N-T-E-R. These video blogs support one of the center's core activities, which is collaboration and partnership with individuals, communities, and healing centers practicing personal growth and spiritual development. Our guest today is Cindy Teevens, and we will be talking with Cindy about her healing work. And now I will bring Cindy on screen. And I'll welcome you, Cindy, to our video blog today. Thank you for being with me.
Thanks for having me here, Robert. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Cindy, your story of unfolding or the enlightened moment, it's well shared, certainly in community and through the work you do. It's also well shared on your website. That is What Happened in the Woods.
Yes.
And you're certainly free to share it here if you wish. But where I'd like to begin is by asking you what that experience offered you and how you now share that with the healing work you do.
Right. So it's a good question. Actually, I was just asked it yesterday in our Facebook group, a very similar one. You know, how do you share that? And it's like, I don't. You know, that the day that it happened, it was very, very difficult to even speak. And, but we had a party planned with my friends who were spiritual friends. And I was like, this is the most profound thing. I've got to share it. But it was almost also the most mundane, simple thing. And I couldn't speak it. I found I couldn't speak it. And if I did, it sounded like something found in a dog's mouth, to quote another, Zen master. The direct seeing of everything as yourself. That sounds not too bad. But how I was saying it was like, the trees are me, the trees are me, the rocks are me, the leaves are me. You could be committed for saying these things in our country. I cannot speak it. It truly is unspeakable. However, over time, I found ways to point. I found ways to point to it. I found that what veils it from us is our false beliefs. And so I found ways to remove the false beliefs so that the truth could be seen as it is. So that's basically what I do now. Mm. And my members, they're the best teachers. They've shown me, we together have, through their questions, this question, back and forth question, dialogue, has come up with techniques and ways and means of which to point to it. So it's really fun.
You already have begun to share or invite us into that work that you do with people. And I wanted to ask, how would you describe this work that you do with people, either one-on-one or in groups?
Yeah, so it's very similar in groups as it is in one-on-one, except that sometimes people feel more open, more available, or more honest, or whatever it is, privately than they do in the group sometimes. But we have very sincere, genuine people in our groups who find that the more they open, the more they get out of it. And so it's just amazing that comes out of the group work. I get new pointers out of the group work, and I get new pointers out of the private work, and then I share that back and forth. But I actually don't do private work anymore. I've got a few leftover clients, but we're not doing that. The one-on-one work that happens within the group is very similar to private work. And so that's what a lot of people say. It's just like having a one-on-one. We're just having a conversation together. Yeah, there happens to be people listening. Everybody benefits from that, though. Everybody in the group says that. They'll say, gee, he asked that question. That was my question. right? And I just didn't have the words to speak it, and he just nailed it, and it really helped me. And that helps. But also, if people are listening and inside, they're doing their own work inside as I'm working with someone else. Sometimes what happens is someone, in the group will go, "Oh, I got my answer," or something, or I had my insight, from doing their own work. I wasn't even speaking with them, but that's how it goes.
That's a bit of a transformation for you in your work. We've known each other for a few years, and I can remember when we initially met each other, a significant, if not all of your work was one-on-one.
Yes.
And now to hear that is transformed, that's invited into the group work.
Yes.
How did that unfold for you?
How did it happen? Yeah. I got, there's only so many people you can reach one-on-one, and there's only so many hours in a day. And I couldn't both do one-on-one and sustain the business and reach more people unless I change the format. There's just not enough time. The body-mind is limited that way. And so I didn't want to let go of what I felt were the really powerful changes that were happening one-on-one. But through this, we found ways to make that happen in a group. So there's really not that much more difference now between the one-on-one work, which I learned a ton from, which I use in the group now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've published a couple of books, and if one explores your website, they'll find out all about the books. They feel like an underpinning, a core of some, if not all, of your work. And one of the books has, I think, and I've always thought, has a really interesting title, and that I'm speaking of the book with the title, the intriguing title, The Happiness Lie. There's a second book that you've written that I think is more current, and we can certainly talk about that as well. But this book titled The Happiness Lie, what is this happiness lie you speak?
Yeah. So the subtitle of that book is What Generations Have Been Told That Makes You Unhappy. That's the happiness lie. And what it is further is the belief that things, people, or events make us happy or unhappy. And this is, it is everywhere. It is in everybody's lives. It's functioning in everybody's lives. They don't even know that it's functioning. And we're starting to outgrow it, because sometimes you hear people say things like, well, I know nobody can make me happy. And this is known as a thought. It's a nice thought that you know as a thought. But when the rubber hits the road and real life unfolds, people get angry when people don't do what they want them to do, or they're not making them happy anymore. And so they're functioning and believing as if their happiness depends on another person. And because of that, we've increased our suffering and decreased our joy. When you realize that your joy, your happiness, your love is not in any way, shape, or form tethered to a person, a thing, or an event, it's released. It's unleashed. And it can grow beyond belief. That's what I say, is that you're capable of so much more love, joy, and bliss than you have lived or imagined. In fact, it's been our imagination that has kept us from it. We imagine we can't feel that good without a partner. We imagine we can't feel that good because this has happened or that has happened. It's all imagination. And I discovered that directly in my own experience, because there was a time when I had nothing. Like, I had no money, I had debt, I had no job, I had no friends, I was isolated, I had no relationship, nothing. And that was about the time when my father died by suicide. And I still found the joy within that we all have available. Not in the moment of the suicide, but later when I went through this, I'll call it battle or reckoning with unconsciousness and mind, that I discovered that what makes us happy or unhappy is believing a thought that feels bad. That's it. That's all. There's nothing more to it than that. When we believe it, we give it our powers of attention and interest, and we feel bad. And when we don't do that, the thought can come and go, and it'll go away. Left alone, it'll go away. but we keep authorizing. It's one of our powers. I talk about 5 powers everybody was born with. We keep authorizing a bad feeling thought. We're going to feel bad.
The Immortal Wayne Dyer, I think it's Wayne Dyer, and others may echo the same teaching, but what we give our energy to expands.
It appears to. What happens is it appears to magnify, and everything else appears to recede. Of course, it doesn't. I was driving in Toronto just last week, and on the way home, I was listening to an iPod, and I also had GPS on. And I was interested in the iPod, not the GPS. I was on the 401. I knew where I was going. But the GPS came in booming, and I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to hear the iPod, which was quieter. So I used my power of attention, and we all have this ability to tune into the quieter iTunes sound and tune out the GPS. So it was there, but it was like unintelligible. It was like because my attention was full onto the program that I was listening to. And we all have that capacity and that capability. We just haven't noticed it yet.
But this is in part where you can help people. And your website has just such a plethora of products and services. And a lot of the products are free. In fact, if I recall, there's a whole category of free stuff. Can you share with those watching and listening about these products and services? Yeah,
sure. We've simplified it. I don't know when's the last time you were on the website. We have simplified it a little bit, but the practice of alchemy, I call alchemy, which is shifting your state from feeling bad to feeling good. This calms the mind. Why do we want to do that? To calm the mind, because you can't realize the truth in a disturbed mind. It's like using one thorn to remove another, but when you're done, you throw them both away. And that practice of alchemy is available for free. Anybody can download it anytime on the website. Then the other thing we have going, which is happening right now actually, is an ego workshop. Yeah, where we have, we're putting out 4 official videos that are training people in the 5 powers that you have in what is unconsciousness, what is thought, what is mind, what is real, what is not, who are you, the reality check, the identity check. All of these things are being shared very freely in the workshop, which includes a Facebook group and emailing. We're emailing people these training videos. Plus, I'm doing a webinar, a live broadcast every day on Zoom out into the social media world. And you can see that if you join the Ego Workshop, also at egoworkshop.com. So that's available now. That's the big way to really get a grasp on the material and the message that I'm sharing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you share all of this stuff through your website and on your website in a really creative way. And there's so much there. And I wanted to ask, where do you get your creative inspiration?
It's funny. People may have the idea I'm not creative. I used to have that idea. That's just a thought, of course. And once these thoughts are out of your way, it's not about you being creative or not being creative. I mean, the universe is creative. So, yeah, everybody has access to that as long as you notice the movie in the mind, which is what I talk about these days. The movie in the mind that says something about reality, but the movie is not the reality. It's like being in a movie theater and getting involved in the movie, and you might even get emotional. You might get afraid or something. But then you get so scared that you realize, oh, yeah, right, reality check, it's not happening. It's just a movie. And you come back to your senses and you notice the theater that you're sitting in and that you're fine. Everything's okay. And that's quite like what waking up is like when you're in the movie in the mind. The only difference is in the theater, the movie's up on the screen. But in everybody's daily life, the movie is in the mind here. And so they can't have a hard time really discerning the difference between the movie in here and the reality. And so when you get that out of your way, you're completely unlimited. Because your past lives in the movie in the mind. Your future lives in the movie in the mind. And if you're living in the movie in the mind, you're limited by that movie, whatever's been stored there. That's why everybody appears to be different. I have a different, someone has a different problem than another person. The siblings raised in the same family will have a different story. They've stored a different story. And so stepping out of that story is so liberating.
This movie in the mind makes for interesting times. That almost rhymes. Movie in our mind makes for interesting times.
That's great.
And I think it might be an understatement to say we're living in interesting times.
Indeed.
And I wanted to ask you, what appears to be troubling people, if I can use that word, the most at this time? What is the most common reason you are finding people are expressing for finding their way to you and wanting to work with you?
Yeah. I would say the most common reason is the mind, the voice in the head. People realize there's a voice in the head. It's driving me crazy. I can't stop it. I wake up at 2, 3 in the morning, or I can't go to sleep to begin with, or it makes me behave in a way I don't want to behave and say things I don't want to say. That's what they think is happening. They think it is doing that to them, and they don't really know how this is happening, why it's so loud, why it's repeating, why they can't stop it, yada, yada. And so that is the biggest problem, because it is the root cause of all problems, whether it's a relationship problem or a money problem, or, it is the root cause. And so I like to get to the root. I don't want to play around on the outside, because then you'll just have to keep coming back and coming back. And no, you can be free right here, right now. This can be over for you. And so we get to the root. And not knowing the difference, I think, between the movie in the mind, unconsciousness, and the reality of what actually is, I think, the cause of why we have crimes, atrocities, wars. Okay, we have to stop telling ourselves these lies. In the happiness lie, I say it's the what we've been told, what generations have been told, but it's not just told; it's sold, and we are selling it. We're selling it to the next generation. Can we stop this? We have to stop it with ourselves first, stop it within. I say, inner peace comes before outer peace. And that's how important each individual is. So we stop it within, maybe the next generation won't inherit the same lie.
Beautiful goal, if we want to call it that, to attain, to work towards.
Or vision, or
vision.
Yeah, something else is possible. That's all I know. My life has been altered, irrevocably changed. Something else is possible.
Cindy, if someone wanted to explore that other possibility with you, that something else that's possible, how could they do so? How would they reach out to you? Is there an email? Would you like to share your website address with us?
Sure. The absolute best thing is to get involved in the Ego Workshop. It's free right now. Come on in. You get questions answered. You get live, huge community, wonderful, heart-centered people. There's like over 1,000 of them. Join the Ego Workshop at theegoworkshop.com. And you can also email me directly, Cindy at cindyteevens.com. The website is also cindyteevens.com. So any which way works.
Okay. All right. Cindy, I'll thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll make sure your contact information is in the scrolling credits at the end. Thanks again.
A joy. Thank you very much, Robert. Good to see you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.